It's all voice work.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess.
Is Mario even human, though? That's the thing.
Sorry?
Is Mario even human? Like,
Yeah, yes.
but is
God,
he?
that is a question.
Have you played the latest Mario game? Odyssey. Is it Odyssey?
No.
There's a level set in,
I mean-
I think it's like New Donk City or something. And it's like a kind of a New York, but all the other people in the city are like human sized and human proportioned. And then Mario's not. Mario's like,
Okay, so he's an alien.
I don't know, is he a cartoon character or is he like a manifestation? Or I don't know. I think there's a fair question. Is Mario even human? Basically. Because he might not be.
I mean, one could ponder that. That's a big question.
This is a philosophical quandary you've placed us in now. The
What a
humanity of
conundrum.
Mario the plumber.
I can see every other cast member doing their roles though, but Chris Pratt is the one that is, breaking my suspension of disbelief.
I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he is a very talented voice actor.
He is.
I think the thing is, everybody's played a Mario game, and the person you play as, for the most part, is Mario, and you know how Mario sounds, and you know Mario's energy, and we know Chris Pratt, and it's like, okay, maybe he can do it. I mean, maybe this is his Heath Ledger Joker moment, where he delivers a performance.
I'm going
we
to
just
call
didn't
it right
expect.
now and say it's not.
You don't think this is his Joker?
I don't. No, I don't think so.
Do you want to know how I got to these scars? My apologies go out to the Italian-American community.
But like, there was a little bit of me that's like, look, I don't know the guy's stand-up in depth, but like Sebastian Maniscalco is like an Italian-American New York chap, and he's like he's on the cast, and it's like, I mean, there's a Mario if you want, that Italian-American thing. I don't think he can.
I mean, is he Italian-American?
Goofy energy. Yeah.
How do we know that?
Oh, Mario.
Yeah.
I guess
Again,
I've just
he's
everything I've
Italian,
learned about Mario's human life I learned from the Bob Hoskins John Leguizamo joint from the 90s.
Yeah, that's not the best source for Mario lore, probably.
You know that story about at a certain point on the press tour, was it? I don't know if it was the press tour or in the middle of production, someone said to Bob Hoskins, how do you feel about making a movie out of a video game? And he went, this was a video game.
Do you think he thought he was doing another Roger Rabbit? He's like, this is going to be... He's like, that last one turned out so good. This is going to be great.
There's a little bit like with actors where like actors of... Well, I don't even know if he was of that stature, where like they go into these sort of special effects driven things. I guess everybody was. You go in blindly going, this could be another Star Wars, and it's not. Like where Jeremy Irons did Dungeons and Dragons. Anyone ever see that? It had the kid from Lois and Clark who played Jimmy in it.
When was this?
1997.
Then no. Oh wait. Yeah, I think I maybe saw it in passing on the TV or something once or twice.
I would say though, the only exception to what I'm about to say is probably the Lego Movie. But the amount of times I read a piece of casting, an actor like taking a role in this thing, and I just go, oh no, you don't want to do that. That's going to be bad. I can tell you right now it's going to be bad, and I know you think it's not going to be bad, and you're hoping it'll be something else. And the only time I've been wrong is the Lego Movie, really.
Who were you wrong about there?
Hmm?
Who were you wrong about? Who were you thinking wouldn't fit? And then
Just the Lego Movie in general. I just thought it was going to be a disaster. I was like, what? No, don't do that. That's an awful idea. And I was so wrong. But I fully expected that to just be like a car crash, and it was just really smart and original and funny and surprising. But every other time, you read something, it's like, oh no, don't do that. That won't be good.
Yeah, it's like I think they're making a reboot of The Lost Boys as well.
For fuck's sake!
I know, yeah.
I always have that reaction when someone says we're making a new version of a movie or whatever.
I have no problem.
And I always
with
have
remakes.
to remember that, like, I always have to just bring myself to that, because I'm like, there's a whole new audience that doesn't know this thing exists. It's like telling people to dig through the back catalogue of a fucking library to find that one fucking book that was good, you know, like, it makes sense to just bring concepts back to life. And reinterpretation, revival, remaking, like, it keeps concepts alive in people's heads. The stuff that, like, dies off is the stuff that doesn't get addressed. That's why I think, like, that the Muppets, they need to keep making movies, or they need to make, like, they need to make another Muppet TV series, because I loved the Muppets Tonight, you know, I loved once a week tuning into this little variety show of the Muppets, and that's where they came from. Because it just plants the seed at the very, like, kids watching that on a week-to-week basis, it plants a seed. But somewhere along the lines, I think the Muppets got a little too like, tongue-in-cheek for the parents watching, you know, and it lost a little sight of, for the kids. I like that Parks, what was the name of the Muppets show they did with, where it was like a Parks and Rec type of thing, where it's like a streaming service thing. They put it on Disney Plus.
I don't think I know.
I did not watch that.
See, this is the thing. They made a hold on, I'm opening Disney Plus on the iPad.
I'll just do elevator music while you do. Your call is important to us. Please stay on hold while Aiden finds what he's looking for.
Muppets Now. So they did this TV series that was like, we have to upload to the stream, where's the video file? And it was all like, there was like interspersed with like coming back to computers and like emailing the next sketch to the next people who did the like, I see what they were trying to do, but it was like, you got to keep things alive in people's consciousness, so that...
The thing is, though, if I heard that a bunch of people were going to appear in the next Muppets thing, I wouldn't be like, terrible move, don't do it. I'd be like, good for everybody involved.
See, personally, I think the Muppets has a history of, you know, they make movies, so them continuing to make movies is totally cool for me personally, whereas remaking things, I'm like, it depends. I mean, but you can maybe continue the story, like, it depends. If you're doing it well, then I salute you. I don't know, maybe change it up a little bit so that the original, so people can go back to the original. I don't know.
Well, the Muppets make movies, but it was after they, you know, laid the groundwork with the Muppet Show. You know, then they made the big Muppet Caper and Muppets Take Manhattan and Muppet Christmas Carol. Like, it was the late 70s, 80s stuff that fed into the movie viability.
Is Mario a Muppet?
That's true.
That would explain a lot.
Again, this is an argument I've had many times, like, what constitutes a Muppet? Apparently, you know, you can be a Henson Works creation without being a Muppet. So there's some dispute over whether or not the Sesame Street characters are Muppets. I think they're Muppets.
They're definitely Muppets.
I think they're Muppets.
Yeah.
But I don't think Gelfling
are
Muppets.
I don't, like, exactly. Like, I was kind of aware of Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, and I never once thought, these are Muppets. But growing up, I was like, Sesame Street it's the Muppets. You can't tell me it's not.
I mean,
they're
it's the
Muppets.
same kind of character design. Yeah.
They are 100% Muppets.
Because then is like things like Yoda, with that, like, would he kind of be with the whole Frank Oz thing? I don't know.
Not a Muppet.
Exactly.
Muppet adjacent.
Muppet adjacent.
But he can self-identify as a Muppet if he wants, and I'm not going to tell him that he's not. So,
which brings us to the Muppets Haunted Mansion coming middle of October.
That was a clever segue.
I laid the groundwork for it a while ago.
That's why he gets the big bucks.
Yep, that's why I get the big heavy books that I get to sit on so that I can be seen by this camera, because I'm short.
Not short.
That doesn't work. Yeah, I know. Even as I said it, was like, if I was Kev, maybe I could get away with this, but it just doesn't work. Will Arnett,
Kev, just called you short.
Just Yvette Nicole Brown.
Kev. I want Kev to respond when he hears this. He just called you short, Kev.
Did he not know?
I mean, we are short, but don't have to point it out. It's rude.
Sorry. I was very happy to see a new Muppets thing coming. But is this the third attempt at a Haunted Mansion property? Because it is the Disney, like, it's like Gonzo has been challenged to stay in the Haunted Mansion for a night, and if he survives, he gets, like, I don't know, inherits the fortune. If he doesn't, he becomes a ghost and haunts the mansion with all the other ghosts. I think it's the third haunted, like, they did the Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy, right?
I have to say, as a kid, I absolutely loved that. I just loved it. I think I loved Eddie Murphy.
Haunted mansions are cool.
Yeah, exactly. Haven't seen that in ages. Thank you for reminding me. I will go and watch that.
It's in the Halloween list now.
Yep.
You should watch Haunting a Hill House if you haven't yet.
Right.
Is that the one with
it's in a haunted mansion. No, it's the TV show that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, based on the one with Luke Wilson, based on the one from many, many years ago.
It's based on a book. I don't know if Luke Wilson was in an adaptation. I'm not sure. Maybe.
With Liam Neeson. I think that might have just been called The Haunting at that point.
I can't remember.
It's with like the painting of the woman on the wall who looks like the woman who's staying in the house or something.
Yeah, but I can't remember if that's the Hill House story or if that's just the Haunted Mansion story. I can't remember.
So we up for more Muppets?
Sure.
I'm always up for more Muppets.
Have you watched any of the more recent Muppet content? Like
me? I sound like
any
a
of us, I
hypocrite.
suppose.
The most recent one, probably like Muppets Most Wanted or something. I don't know. But the one that I keep coming back to is Christmas Carol. I want to watch that every Christmas. It's just magic.
85 minutes of perfect Christmas.
Pure bliss.
What do you think of the idea that they took a song out of it? What? So when Michael Caine goes back in time the first time and he sees himself as a child in a schoolhouse,
yeah,
and then he ages up a little bit, there is a scene with his fiancée where they sing a song about their relationship falling apart. And I had that on VHS, and like as a 8-year-old, I was like, this is the boring bit with the feelings, and I just was waiting for it to roll on. But when they did like a re-release and a DVD re-release, they went, kids don't like this bit, and they cut the song out altogether.
Oh, I didn't know there was a song.
Yeah, it's called The Love Is Gone. I think that's what it's called. I like, as much as it sort of bored me when I was 8, like, just because I wanted the Muppets to be fun, I am kind of annoyed that they took out this kind of like place of emotional weight.
But does it really serve the film at all? Just because it's emotional and everything, does it actually serve the rest of the story, or does it bring the film to a crashing halt? Yeah, like what I want to say is like leave it intact and don't remove it just because kids don't like it or whatever. But at the same time, maybe it's better without it.
I kind of would agree.
But my knee-jerk reaction is leave it intact, but also maybe it's better. Maybe we should just, yeah. I think it should be preserved somewhere, some version of it, or, have an option for people. I don't want to skip recap, skip intro, skip emotion.
Skip emotion. There should totally be a button for that. You're onto something. You could absolutely sell that idea.
That's gone.
Have I got the electrically induced lobotomy for you?
The second we mentioned, Dave. Now that I've said it, it's...
Well, Aiden, you just edit it out, and then Brian, you just put together a plan, go pitch it to Netflix.
Doesn't even matter. It's just the fact that I've said it now. It's like a spell. It's floating in the zeitgeist, and
Microsoft owns Skype. These conversations all get transcripted. Good ideas are automatically picked up by Grimes' computer brain, fed into Elon Musk.
There you go. That's a little technology 101 for everybody. That's how it all works.
Yep.
Muppets, yay.
Tragedy of Macbeth is Joel Cohen directing.
For a split second, I'm sorry, I thought you meant the Muppets were doing a Tragedy of Macbeth.
I'd watch Muppet Macbeth.
I would watch the fuck out of that. They should do that next.
Okay, let's cast.
That's two great ideas.
Muppet Macbeth. Who is Macbeth?
Chris Pratt.
We need
obviously.
one actor.
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt is Macbeth. Okay. Okay, the rest of the cast are Muppets then. Who's Lady Macbeth?
Scarlett Johansson.
Tom Hiddleston's got to be in it somewhere, though. That's the thing.
Miss Piggy berating Chris Pratt into murdering the king. Just emotionally blackmailing.
That's fabulous. That would be incredible.
The Witches.
The Witches.
3 witches, Muppet characters.
Those heckler lads and Gonzo.
That works.
It does. Gonzo's just confused.
Or it could be Beaker and... yeah,
that's brilliant.
just around a cauldron. And...
the 2 heckler lads.
Well, no, that's Beaker, Honeydew, and Swedish
Chef.
around
Yeah,
the cauldron.
yeah.
Oh, guys, this is brilliant.
Schmurgen birdie.
Has anybody drawn Muppet Macbeth?
Probably, but that's no reason
need
not
to
to.
do it.
Yeah, just do it anyway.
I mean, that's fucking phenomenal. I was drawing a cover based on this week's What If, but I might draw Muppet Macbeth.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to waylay what you were doing. Do what you were doing, and if you have time, then
Also do that. Muppet Macbeth. I would want Bobo the Bear to be King Duncan. So we had a Macbeth in 2015 with Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard, and a lot of the selling point of that was like the cinematography and Justin Kurzel's directing, and like I didn't forget that was 2015. It's just like, oh, we're taking another swing at Macbeth, are we? I guess the thing is, Denzel Washington's amazing, Frances McDormand's amazing.
oh my god,
Brendan Gleeson, and
Wow.
like this is, and it's Joel Cohen, and it looks great, and in the trailer, and
I need to look this up. I missed it.
it's a play that like I did at school, so I know inside out, and I like saw it at school and saw it in the theater and then saw it in movie form, and it's like the Shakespeare play that I know inside out and always kind of liked. Like Merchant of Venice and Hamlet are there as well because they're just kind of school syllabusy. But I always really liked Macbeth. So
Make better than everything.
better pick a preference and watch it more regularly than some of the others. I was like in an acting class in college, and we went as like an end of year thing to go and see The Merchant of Venice in the cinema, and it was the Al Pacino thing. And say what you will about the production of it, when I came out of it, somebody at the thing went, "Oh yeah, sorry for choosing that. We shouldn't have gone to that." Not based on whether the movie was any good or not. It was just he was bored by Shakespeare, and I was like, "Oh, that's a disappointing mindset to be coming out of the theater with." Favorite Shakespeare plays?
I think I quite like Much Ado About Nothing. I like the adaptation with Emma Thompson. I think she was fab in that, and it was a good cast. I also like Midsummer Night's Dream. I think that's pretty funny. And I like to perform, if I got to perform it or something, if I got to play Bottom, I think that would be pretty funny.
Bottom.
Yeah. He's class, he's funny.
Brian, any thoughts on Shakespeare?
I don't know if I really authentically enjoy it, or was it just, drilled into me in school. I'm not actually sure. I've never taken the time to examine, but Othello's great.
Yeah.
Really like Othello, but do I like Othello? I don't know. I read the shit out of it and I learned.
Is this just the 15th century play I know?
Exactly.
And it was all Othello.
Bob Hoskins
God.
did a great Iago, though.
I haven't seen that.
He's superb.
I'm sorry, all I
back
think
to
of
Hoskins.
when I think of Iago is Aladdin, the bird from
Yeah.
Aladdin. That shows how uncultured in the ways of Shakespeare I am.
No, like all of us have like just like a secondary school passing understanding or exposure to these plays. I've seen a few clips of like Orson Welles doing stuff. Like Orson Welles there's a clip from like the Dean Martin show from the fucking 50s or something, and it just sent me down like a Falstaff rabbit hole because like he's a big drunken arsehole. Like I really enjoy that character. He gets a comeuppance, and that's how ill grey hairs befit the fool. So you're just seeing the tragedy in age. But he's a fun character, and I always like looking up clips of him and different people playing him. And there's a bunch of different, like Jason Alexander did it, and Orson Welles, and the guy who played Provorro in V for Vendetta, and he's in the Hippopotamus with Stephen Fry's movie. He's the lead in that. Roger Allam.
I was about to say,
to
but I
him
wasn't
at,
sure if you were talking about him or not because you didn't say Speed Racer.
Fucking Speed Racer. Sorry, I
Why
forgot
does everybody keep bringing up
If you had said
Key
Speed
role.
Racer also, I would have just said Roger Allam.
The first piece that we did in Bow Street, in the acting thing, was like I did a chunk of Falstaff in the basement to Annabelle, because, you know, we just went off in partners and performed these things to each other. So like Annabelle got a one-man show of Falstaff.
Fab. Lucky Annabelle.
Moving on.
Sure. I just want to point out that the opposite of William Shakespeare is would I was shook shielded. So
Would I was...
instead of will I am.
What was the last name?
Shakespeare. So actually wait, no, still and then shield. That's what it should be. Would I was still shield.
So will I am, would I was... Still shield.
Or if you want to go right into it, it should be like would you was.
Okay. I was telling you a minute ago about a trailer for a Netflix show. So they're starting to put out the Halloween stuff. Night Teeth was a trailer I watched. There has got to be a better name for that movie. It is Collateral with vampires. So it looks like a guy's an Uber driver and two women get in the back seat and say drive us to a half dozen places and have us home by dawn. And they're vampires. I mean, I can see walking in and pitching that. That's a great idea.
Maybe like Midnight Molars might be better.
I mean, Midnight Run is a better... It's an existing movie, but...
Night Link.
Hey.
Copyright... how do I enforce that? Actually, I don't really want to get into that. I don't want to get into that because... I don't want Dublin Bus coming after me. It's spelt differently, Dublin Bus. It's spelt differently.
Night Kink. Vampires are kinky.
Or you could just say Night Link, KNIGHT.
Midnight Snacks.
Yeah. Buffet.
Because they're going around eating people in the middle of the night, and also they're pretty.
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats! I mean, that way you would have got Uber paying half your bloody budget, you know? Okay, I don't think we're going to beat that. Let's move on. I think it'll be a fun movie. Netflix have put out sort of seasonal movie stuff historically, and it's usually just fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is going to fall into category-wise as well. It's fine. I'll watch it and move on.
They have also been doing the Mike Flanagan stuff, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. And every time I say something about that, about a production, I'm like, I wish Netflix would give me money and let me make something fine, because I would try my absolute hardest to make something as amazing as I possibly could, and it would come out fine.
We just need to get in the room.
So, you know, good work, everybody. Yeah. I mean, have you got give me your elevator pitch for a Netflix movie?
About a dog called Yorkie, and it is selected by an intergalactic council to pilot a giant robot.
So that's already
so
amazing.
what's a big Netflix show in the last few weeks, months, or otherwise?
Sex education. Sex education.
Okay, so Gillian Anderson and
Asa Butterfield.
Well, Asa Butterfield's in Sex Education, so we're going to take somewhere else.
Oh, okay. This is what we're going. Okay.
You see what we're doing?
Yes. I am on board.
Gillian Anderson and Anya Taylor-Joy are Soviet spies that fight werewolves at Christmas.
Oh, that's
seasonal
fab.
movie. Works for both seasons.
That's brilliant. They should do that. I'd watch it. Heck, I'd probably watch it more than once.
That'd be a home run for Netflix.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Put Henry Cavill in there just for a bit of eye candy.
That's all he's good for.
Oh, he's the head werewolf.
What are we? Werewolves, not swearwolves.
Will we talk about What If?
Yes.
What if we talked about what if?
First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to forward to the chat Kev's thoughts on What If, and we'll have a listen to those, and I'll stick them into the episode, into the chat. We'll have a listen to these, and then we can start our conversation off the back of that.
Let me guess. Oh, I really loved it. It was amazing. I really loved it because I love everything. Because my name's Kevin. I love everything. And then he'll either burp or shift uncomfortably in his chair and tell us a unrelated story.
All right, let's play Kev Bingo.
The latest episode of What If. Not my favorite episode, but a lot of fun and really, really enjoyable. I started watching it during the week, and I had to go because I was going to work or something. And when I got home, I was like, "Fuck it, I just restarted." And but I had watched it during the week. I watched it the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I wasn't keen on it, but then when I got home and I had time and I restarted it, I really, really enjoyed it. Very, very, very funny. Very good. Silly, but good. It made me chuckle in my belly. But also, the end of the Thanos Ultron Vision thing is awesome. So that's obviously going to happen. Whatever that is. I'm sure Brian has divulged plenty about it, or... Yes. If I had to give it a rating out of thumbs up, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5 thumbs up. So 3.5 thumbs up out of 5. And even then I feel like that's even being a little bit harsh because it's a fun episode. Maybe 4 thumbs up. No. 3.5. Goodbye.
Cree, what did you think of this week's episode of What If?
I thought it was horrific. I'm sorry. Okay, so what I really thought was that it was very, very fun. It was totally the episode where they decided, you know the way like some series they do like a musical episode. It's like this. They were like, you know what? Let's do a like mad fun comedy episode, and this is the one where we just let rip and just write as many jokes as we can, and then go back to like the semi-serious stuff. Like we had already had the zombie episode, that was funny, but this just kind of was another level, and it was just goofy, pure goofy, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought it was very enjoyable and hilarious. So that's my take on it, I think.
Brian?
It was okay. Some of it worked, some of it didn't work. There was parts I was thinking to myself, this is a kid's cartoon after all, you know? But then again, I was immediately followed up by, but so is Batman the Animated Series, so is Avatar, you know? So stuff can still be kid stuff. And like, I laugh a lot genuinely at jokes in Avatar. But a lot of the kind of humor in this, I was just kind of like, I mean, it wasn't bad. It just was, yeah. I feel like their approach to humor is more like easy jokes, and a lot of them, as opposed to like kind of authentically kind of like creating a funny moment. It's just like, there's a lot of callbacks and references and stuff, as opposed to being good jokes. They're not terrible, but they're just like, okay, right. And then when there's so many of them, it dilutes most of them. I did laugh when he said, there's a word for women like you in this place, and I knew they obviously weren't going to say it, but clearly kind of referencing a lot of the misogyny directed at Larson and Marvel anyway, you know. And then when it was Party Pooper, I was like, yeah, it's like, okay, that's funny. But yeah, just some of them was just kind of like odd, just like Frigga being a wine mom and then Jane going to her and like telling her everything that's happening in between sips of wine. It's just like, this is some fucking cliched, stereotypical stuff, It's like it's like something you'd see in a fucking Sex and the City sequel or something. It's just like, what is this? This is borderline offensive.
Who's writing these? A.C. Bradley.
It was a woman who wrote this episode.
That's not what I asked. Let's just be clear. That's not what I asked. I said, who's writing this? A.C. Bradley. Head writer and executive producer on What If, consulting producer on Miss Marvel. She worked on Arrow and Troll Hunters. And
the art style is very bland.
Yeah.
It's this like very generic Disney look, and it's just, especially like Captain Carter looks great. Like Captain Carter looks not that she even necessarily looks like Hayley Atwell, but very much has that character's kind of spirit and energy. And then Jane and Darcy could have been interchangeable. They're just like, it's, and even Thor just looked like the fucking Prince Charming from Shrek, just very, very bland.
Yeah.
Jane was definitely like, it's like Jane was written by somebody who hadn't even seen the Thor movies or something.
It was weird, like Natalie Portman just, like that was Natalie Portman voicing, but I just didn't get anything of her through it,
Yeah.
I did really enjoy this, but I looked at it as like, when this,
I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of,
if this were a comic book, you would hire the appropriate artist for the tone of the issue. And in my head, I was like, this is where the art style and the 3D rigs are hurting this show. Because what this should have been is drawn like a Bloomin' Animaniacs or a Looney Tunes episode. Everybody should have been caricatured to hell, and you should have played the silly rubber punching across the globe type of stuff.
If you're going to go silly, go all the way. Yeah.
This is it. And they were just kind of like, we want to do that, but we have to use the rigs we have. And we have to use the style we have. And if it had been...
Yeah. I wish they had taken the Visions approach for this and
done a different style.
That's it.
Episode,
I mean, there's stuff in the Doctor Strange episodes that could have been so pushed visually in terms of like mysticism and the arcane and that sort of stuff that it was just like, we're stuck with the... And to be fair, when they needed to do that, the monsters and stuff that they pulled out were very hand-drawn 2D pushing design type of stuff, at least for that show.
Yeah.
So I did really enjoy this. When Loki showed up as a 12-foot blue man wearing a basically loincloth, I was like, okay, the internet's going to have a field day. There are some thirsty Hiddleston ladies. What are they? Do they have a name? Hiddlestoners? There must be something, right? Lokettes. There must be a name for people that fan all over Loki. And TikTok has not disappointed in that regard, but maybe that's my algorithm.
I thought he stole the show. And actually Tom Hiddleston did a fab job of voiceover. He was genuinely funny. And then when he, even just thinking about how he, like holding a human phone, how he broke it because he was so big, like, or how he's like, him and Thor are such bros, even though they're not like brothers in this universe. They're like it was such a bromance. I loved it.
It was great, but it was still like
held back.
It was still like the issue that we had last week, where it was like, what is the change in agenda for our character? And in this instance, it was like he was more of an unchecked party animal. But did we get the sense from the existing Thor movies that Loki was keeping in check his raucousness? Like, I never thought that was what Loki did. Kept him.
If anything, I would have thought that
in
was
check.
I don't think it's that I don't think it's that he kept it in check.
Distracted.
I think it just was a different,
like
a
if
different
you're in
mix.
competition with your brother, you're going to want to impress your dad more. Whereas if you're the only kid, you can do whatever you want, and you're still going to be the golden child, maybe.
And that's kind of what Loki did in mythology as well. A lot of the things Loki did set other things in motion because of people's response. And the show even referenced that, like Loki referenced that the part that he's reliving over and over again when he cut Sif's hair. That's from mythology, and in mythology that actually leads to the creation of Mjolnir. So that's it. It's not so much that Loki kept him in check. It's just Loki
You're right.
scheming.
Kind of pushed him
very
into the
often
good son
the catalyst for things.
The dwarves weave, or the dwarves forge new golden hair for Sif or something, isn't it? It's part of the gifts they bring.
Yeah, I can't remember it exactly, but yeah. So yeah, it's more that Loki being dissatisfied and unhappy is the kind of root of their scheming and tricking, and then that causes, I think, Wilson Mobius even says, you kind of, you're the catalyst for other people to become the better version of themselves. So it's not so much that he kind of kept Thor's partying in check, it's just that it just elicited a different response from people, because
it is again funny who comes back to voice and who doesn't.
I thought it was odd that Larson
that's what
didn't
I'm
come
looking
back.
at.
But like I said, my kind of what I've said previously is that anybody who's come back to voice a character means they are going to show up again in a film. Because why would you sign up for a cartoon unless you've got more film roles coming up? And my theory with Larson has been for a while that they're going to either kill her off or depower her in... I could be way off, but I think that's what they're going to do, because she's too powerful. They don't know what to do with her. She was like a kind of a Deus Ex Machina in Endgame, and she's too powerful, and they don't know what to do with her character. And the fact that they've brought in Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, and that the next film is called Marvels as opposed to... And I don't think they'll do it, because I don't think we'll see
and also Rogue famously absorbs her powers and sticks her in a coma.
But that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying, is that
bring on the X-Men.
I don't think we'll see the X-Men that soon. But there is also a rumor that apparently Patrick Stewart is in Multiverse of Madness.
I saw that previs image and went, this is bollocks. And then I saw it on like Comic Book Reporter.
Anyway, my theory for a while has been that they're going to either kill off her character or something. And like, I think the best way to do it would be if they do introduce Rogue. But I don't think that's happening anytime too soon. I don't think the X-Men are happening anytime soon. But I do think there's a reason. There's a reason the next film has Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel. I think they're going to. No. I think they're going to finish her off, because
you got to push.
I don't think she's been very happy in the role she's gotten.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
She's gotten so much flack for playing this character, completely undeserved, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's not too happy in it. And like her role at the end of her cameo at the end of Shang-Chi is kind of like, oh, I gotta go. I've got other shit to be doing. They don't know what to do with her, and I think they're going to get rid of her. And I think that's why she didn't show up to voice.
You don't think she's involved with whatever Fury's got going on in that spaceship?
No.
Okay. Sorry, Cree, you were saying.
No, sorry, I just got sidetracked with Captain Marvel being in Shang-Chi because I haven't seen that yet. No, you're okay. No, I think it got mildly spoiled online for me, and I was thinking they're just screwing with people. It's okay, and then no. So if anything, that was just confirmation, so it's fine. I was thinking
doesn't change anything about the film.
It doesn't change anything. She doesn't really. Yeah. There's no contribution there. You just see her.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking killing off Captain Marvel would be a great way to set up a really powerful villain, because if you can kill off her, then you're freaking massive threat. So that could be a good narrative choice.
Yeah. It's frustrating, because I did enjoy that movie. I like Brie Larson. I think there's lots to be done with this character. But even as you say, she's a Deus Ex Machina, right? We came out of Avengers Infinity War, at least you and I, Brian, going, okay, and now we're flashing back 30 years where we learn about a superhero that's way overpowered, who's going to solve all of this problem. This is such a stupid get-out-of-jail-free card. I hope it's not as ham-fisted as that seems. And then you see Endgame, and they may as well have not put her in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She crashed through a spaceship. It's like I could have watched War Machine do that. Like she.
Yeah, like I I love that moment, and I love her fight with Thanos, and I love that moment when she crashes through the ship. But the fact that it's not until 2 and a bit hours later, they
20 minutes
really,
in.
Yeah, they really don't know what to do.
It's true. Like,
it's weird that they made her so powerful in the first place.
I think that might have been a mistake. It's not a journey.
It's such a mislead to make us think she's going to solve the problem.
At least with somebody like Wanda, you can see how she got there, and it wasn't so quick. Do you know, she's gone through an evolution, and they have a clear idea of what to do with her. You know, they've really thought about her being overpowered and what's going to be done there, but they don't, like you said, have that with Captain Marvel, and it is a bit of a cop-out to just bring her in, but that'll just make the fans like her less, because they'll be like, oh, they're just doing the feminist thing. It's actually not the feminist thing, it's just a pure character thing. It's like Superman, or, you know, if you don't know what to do with these characters, but you have to think about that before you just put them in willy-nilly.
Like, if we'd find out that her powers allowed travel through time, then she becomes intrinsic to Endgame, you know? She's the thing facilitating solving the problem. Or if there's something about her powers that Tony Stark can feed into, allow the time machine to work, that would be interesting, because her power came from whatever engine the Kree were building, or Marvel was building. Kree, yeah, I saw you. Hello.
An entire alien civilization. Hello.
Because if you remember, like, X-Men Days of Futures Past, where they had... Was it Kitty Pryde or something? Somebody holding...
That didn't really work for me, though, either.
Yeah.
Kitty Pryde holding her... It didn't make sense that Kitty Pryde's powers allowed phasing through time at this point in her power set or something. But it was using a character's power set to facilitate the narrative, and I thought they were going to do something like that with Captain Marvel. And she literally just shows up 2.5 hours in to punch a thing. And then isn't the thing that saves the day.
I don't think that's even the problem. I think it's just the fact that they've made her too powerful.
Right.
It's not even like it. Yeah, I don't think the problem was that they couldn't think of what to do with her, because I think what they did worked, but they also just...
She's like the Eagles.
Immediately after...
Lord of the Rings reference?
Immediately after creating the character, they've backed themselves into a corner with her. It's just strange that they went there.
Yeah.
Like, we all know that, you know, characters need flaws and they can't be too powerful, and yet they were just like, no, she's... she can just, you know, wipe out any kind of alien invasion. If she'd been around in New York, it would have been over in seconds. But I do think they're getting rid of her next movie, because why bring in 2 other Marvels? It's just a question of how. And the one that makes sense would be to bring Rogue in, but I don't know if they will. I think it's too soon.
So Rogue in the comic books, and I was talking to you about this a bit, Brian, a few months back. Like, with the Marvel Universe app, I was looking at some of, like, the first appearances of Rogue, and she spent a significant amount of her sort of early appearances as just a villain with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and eventually she gets her hands on Carol Danvers and absorbs her powers, and Danvers gets stripped of her powers and left in a coma, and Rogue can fly around and hit things really strong now. So, like, there's a drastic change in that character. It's funny, like, maybe I'm speaking for you and I, Brian, but, like, we think of Rogue as that, like, 90s big hair Southern Belle leather jacket Rogue. Yeah. And then post
and that better
X-Men
be the version
movie.
we get, because...
Can I also put out Justice for Jubilee? Can we get an actual good representation of Jubilee?
Yes. And the non-vampire version, please.
The non-vampire? Is there a vampire Jubilee?
So they changed Rogue's powers, and she basically has fire powers, and Jubilee gets vampire powers. She becomes a vampire.
My buddy
X-Men
Bob
really
refers
is kind
to
of
this
bankrupt
as
of ideas.
My buddy Bob refers to, and he'll be so happy he was mentioned by name this week, because he's been mentioned sort of tangentially.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
He refers to the establishing of universes as, you know, you're setting up your world, and then once you've done that, you shuffle the deck. And after that point, it's like, why are we still watching this? You know, you're just fucking around with things. And so Rogue's superpowers are fire-based now? And
well, last time I read they were fire, but they might have since changed back. But this was years ago now again that I picked up the comics, but she basically just had fire powers instead of her strength and training stuff.
Even early 2000s stuff, when they were introducing the concept of secondary mutations in adult mutants, you know, at a certain point you develop a second skill because we want to have another angle in a story or something.
Jubilee had also gained the powers of a vampire from her transformation by the bite of Zarus, son of Dracula. Her powers include superhuman strength and speed and the ability to turn into vapor. She can heal much faster than a human. As a vampire, Jubilee now possesses all of the weaknesses as a vampire. However, she uses a medallion created by Zarus, which allows all vampires to endure sunlight. Quentin Quire later apparently cured Jubilee from her vampiric status after using a shard of the Phoenix Force he carried to save her from certain death, restoring her mutant powers in the process. Cool.
So which version of Jubilee do you want, Cree?
I'm not super familiar with her, but the X-Men cartoon version looks pretty fun. Or just even... Yeah.
Yellow coat and firework fingers.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it would be fun. Like, they put her in X-Men Apocalypse, Lana Condor as Jubilee, but they didn't put her in Apocalypse because she barely said anything. She didn't show her powers apart from in like a deleted scene to like make a arcade game work. It just was not interesting, and it's unfortunate because Lana Condor was wasted as talent in that movie. So I just think she'd be a really cool and interesting character to have in the Marvel universe on screen, because she hasn't been accurately portrayed, I don't think. And that's coming from someone who doesn't really know the character, so, you know.
No, I think she is a much loved character. And yeah, we're all kind of waiting for sort of the X-Men to be introduced. I don't want the Fox stuff creeping into the MCU. Let's just redo it, you know. Let's pick someone new who looks good bald. Jason Statham can be Professor X.
I'd be really surprised. I'd be really surprised if they went back there, because there wasn't a lot of success in there.
No. It's a lot of money made, but there wasn't a lot
money,
of...
but not good stuff.
There's stuff where it's like the comic book they did with Old Man Logan, where he crossed into like that weird sort of what if futurist alternative reality crossed back into mainstream comics. They brought him back to today. It's like, cool, that's actually an avenue where you could get Jackman in and he can be older and Wolverine. But do we really want to open the door to fucking Michael
they're already
Fassbender?
bringing Deadpool in though as Ryan Reynolds. So how do they get out of that? I mean, you could use the get out of jail card that he is that one character that you could bring in solo, because he's such a he's
that fourth wall breaking character, and
they could probably do that. But then it's also like, well, he is from that universe, so it depends on who they bring with him, maybe.
Yeah, it is. They got to be selective.
Just him on his own, that could be okay. But I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that. And then the MCU itself isn't a fourth wall breaking thing, so is it now going to be a fourth wall breaking thing with Deadpool in it? Like, I don't know how they're going to do it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm so glad that they're continuing with Deadpool and with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, because that, you know, you couldn't get a better choice. But I'm just curious as to how they're going to weave that into the greater narrative.
I'll imagine they'll just dismiss it as he went mad from the multiverse.
There's a camera right there in my face.
We're in a movie right now. It's like,
look at Greg, he's the sound guy.
He hopped from another reality to where one.
Greg, say something. You're the sound guy. First AD, look at me. She's looking at me. Look, can you not see these people? And then it's like, I think that would be funny.
He should directly address someone in the audience. You just like pick a John or
Kevin. Kevin
Feige.
Brian.
Guaranteed to be
Brian.
Yeah.
Stop adjusting yourself. You're in public.
I know there's a Brian in the audience watching right now. Like that'd be such an easy win.
And then everyone else can't see it, but somebody like Mantis is like, I can't see it or something. It's like, no.
So the end of that episode, do you think that the end that we saw there is contained to that episode, or do you think for the next few what ifs we see knock-on
I think
effects?
they're going to bring people together. I think we're gonna see, because I saw the mid-season trailer and it looks like they might be bringing Captain Carter and Party Thor and T'Challa as Star-Lord, like all these heroes that they've set up. I think they're going to bring them together to fight something, and maybe that's what the whole Vision Infinity Stone
Does
thing.
that Vision Ultron with all of the Infinity Stones allow him to jump dimensions and he becomes
Quite
a multiversal
possibly.
threat? And now we're going to start seeing some connective tissue.
Why doesn't zombie Thanos use the stones to cure himself?
Just,
Sorry, I'm still on the zombies thing because it's
I mean,
stupid.
it's kind of
He's
like,
got the soul stone. There's some version of him connecting with all of the souls in the universe. He would have a moment where he'd be like, oh wow, I've got these stones and I can use them to make myself not a fucking rotting piece of
but it's
flesh.
part of the zombie virus where you want
Stupid.
to. I mean, it basically turns you evil, so it changes your mind. You know, that you want to eat people and people who are your friends and stuff.
But he's got the soul
But, like,
stone.
Would that be enough to? Like, if isn't it you use the stone? I mean, you can hold the
And the mind
stone.
stone.
He doesn't have the mind stone yet because they're flying to
And that's what
Wakanda
that's
with
setting
the
up,
mind
but-
stone. But he's got the soul stone and he's got
Would
the
it
time
occur to
stone.
him is just
He
what
could
I'm
just
thinking.
go back to the
Right.
point. Well, I think it would, based on the
The
fact
show's-
that
the show's called
he's got
What
the
If,
sense.
and it just does
He's got the
look
sense to use.
What if it
yeah, so
wasn't
if it's called
comprehensively
What If,
thought
then
out?
I'm going to say What If.
And we're going to say, why the fuck not?
Or yeah, exactly. You could say like, why
Yes.
why is Paul Rudd able to speak if he can't breathe? Do you know, we could go down that road of like, you know, he doesn't have lungs. He probably doesn't have much in the ways of vocal cords anymore, but he still speaks. So we could, I suppose, pick it apart. But
It is a house of cards built by fools.
No, that's science. They're using science to do that. He's got a time stone. Why can't he just go back in time and unzombie himself? Because he's also got the soul stone, which, as the show is revealed, gives you these deep, profound moments of, you know, clarity and connection and insight. So the second he, you know, gets the soul stone, he would have that moment. He would have a conversation with something, and he'd be able to say, "Hey, don't have to be a zombie no more."
So, Marvel are involved in some sort of legal battle or lawsuit now around the concept of copyright determination on work for hire contracts, right? Brian sent this to the group. I don't know if Cree had a chance to read it.
I had a little bit of a read.
The general gist of it is that as a contractor doing a work for hire job, illustration or character creation, there is a statute of limitations or an end date on how long the company for who you sold those rights can own them. And on paper, it's 92 years or something. I did a little Googling. It's like 120 years or 92 from publishing. So in theory, anyone who created a character for Marvel in a work for hire context, the rights to those characters revert back to those creators after that duration. So the problem they're having now is that's going to come up with the Avengers and Spider-Man, and there's a number of comic book creators that would like a big chunk of Disney money. How do we feel about Disney fighting this? Because those laws were put in place for a reason, right? So it's just 100 years later you just want to dispute the law because you're making enough money?
Yeah, I don't know if Disney is the most fair company. It's like I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Disney. Like, as a filmmaker, it's annoying that they have such a monopoly on the industry, but then, you know, they have all this content that I want to look at, so it's like, ugh. And then with this kind of thing, it's like, is it petty? Is it not? I don't know enough, maybe. But
Those sort of contracts are not fair.
Yeah.
They might be legal, but they're not fair.
Yeah.
And you're you know, if you're going to if you're going to work for hire, if you're going to own something a person creates outright, they should be compensated even greater, because it's like, hey, you're going to create this thing for us, we're going to own it, but we're not just going to give you whatever fee. The fee's going to be larger because we're going to own it. But that wasn't the case. They were just given, they were given a basic amount to own something outright, and they had no choice but to sign it because they wanted to work, and there was no balance of power in that situation. They had all the resources. They were gatekeeping. It was like, if you want to be in this industry, if you want to work in this industry, if you want to get stuff published, it's got to be through us or nothing else. And the only deal on the table is we're going to own it outright. And those kind of contracts are not fair at all.
And that's true, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It's like, it is kind of shitty. It's the world that existed. It's the agreement they signed to. It's not fair. Where I'm going, okay, we played your game, Disney, or Marvel at the time. We agreed to your unfair situation. But there was literally laws in the books that allow me to get this copyright back after a period of essentially 100 years. My family can get something back for my creation. These laws are in the books, and now just because that's coming up, and because you have enough money, you're trying to snake out of it.
And they'll get away with it, unfortunately.
Because they did that with Mickey Mouse already, right? Mickey should be public domain at this point.
Yeah, and even like Siegel and Schuster tried it with Superman years ago, and it didn't work. They don't stand a chance, unfortunately.
Well, the thing is, the Siegel and Schuster didn't get, equal ownership of the thing, but they got a big payout. And this is the thing, Disney will settle to all of these creators and pay them a whack of money.
I don't know if they will necessarily. It depends on what judge they end up with, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, a judge can just dismiss this and say, no. Like, there's
But it makes a complete mockery of any copyright law, like the concept of public domain is there for a reason. Mm-hmm. And stuff is supposed to transition to public domain at a certain point. And I mean, I know those laws are as arbitrarily placed as anything goddamn else, but it is frustrating that, like, if you and I come up with a comic book character and you publish it in your small press and we sell it in our local bookshops and whatever, in 100 years, the rights just revert back to me because it's you and I, just small people just mucking around. But if you're big enough and you have the power of Disney behind you, you file the right lawsuits and you just subvert the law entirely.
Yeah, or you can just bury people in suits because you've got the money and resources to keep them out of court. But I mean, that's capitalism. Yay.
What's your favourite moment in capitalism this season?
This season?
Yeah, this season.
Oh, God.
The 2021 season.
I don't know. I think maybe it's... Actually, I don't want to say.
Say it and I'll cut it.
I'll get too mad.
Say it and I'll cut it.
No, it's just to do with landlords and rents.
Oh God, yeah. We have to balance the idea.
Balance it.
That one person's rent is another person's income.
Mm.
Yeah, we don't have to balance that, actually. We need to change that.
Yeah. No.
I can't believe he said that. Jesus Christ, what a prick.
But what he meant to say is we have to balance the idea that one person's rent is my income.
Mm-hmm.
And what he meant was
many people's rent. Many people's rent is my income.
Yeah. Did we just bring it all down? Cree, you're the positive one. Okay. Bring the positivity.
It's nearly Christmas.
Back. Save us.
For those of you who are like me and love Christmas and want to get your tree up in September, it's nearly Christmas. I know people will hate me for this. No, I want to. I don't, though, because I live with other people.
I do like the idea of a Halloween tree. I've seen like a couple of people that did that.
Yeah, actually, I really want to do it. That would be pretty awesome, like making some decorations, putting it on a tree, but it's a tree that doesn't have any leaves or anything. It's like a dead tree or something. Be like, woo! Do you know, I've got like a Halloween playlist. and I'm going to be dressing up, even though I've nowhere to go. I'm going to try and do 11 from Stranger Things, because I like the 80s.
You're gonna
and I like Stranger Things. No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do season 3, 11, which is where she's wearing like this really cool, blue shirt. I bought a yellow scrunchie, which is my first ever scrunchie, and I'm gonna be wearing it on Halloween. And jeans and braces, and I'm gonna put some blood under my nose, and that's 11. So it's pretty straightforward.
You must know when the next season of that's coming out, right?
Like next year. I purposely don't look it up because I'm just it's
next year. I thought it was supposed to be like a month away. Is it not?
I know. Well, they keep
year?
pushing it back. Last I heard, I mean, hopefully it's soon. But I'm kind of like I heard different things about pushbacks, and I don't know. I'm just looking forward to it either way. But they've cast new people in it, most notably probably Amy Beth McNulty from Anne with an E.
Okay.
She's like a band nerd in it, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, so positivity.
Halloween is good.
Halloween is good, and Christmas is good, and we have air, we can breathe, and
Jesus Christ, the struggle for this.
Not until they start
We
charging
have
us for
arms.
it. The water wars are coming as well. Let's not forget. You laugh.
Christmas is
They're
my
real.
my offer of positivity. Have a great Christmas, everyone.
So you saw Jaws for the first time.
I did.
Tell us about Jaws. What's the plot of Jaws?
Bad shark.
It's about a mayor, because of capitalism, won't close the beach because of capitalism.
Yeah,
Sorry,
capitalism is the real evil here, even though we were meant to think that it's a shark.
Goddamn Jaws mayor.
Yeah, I don't know why I hadn't seen it. Yeah, well, I kind of have an idea because I'm a film student. I've been pressured to watch it. People are like, "Go watch this." I've been shown in class scenes from Jaws, being like, "This is how you make a movie. It's so good," and I'm thinking, okay, I will watch it. It wasn't at the forefront of what I wanted to seek out, shall we say, in terms of films I need to watch just for filmmaking, because to be really honest, it's done quite negative things to the public persona of sharks, and people in general have less empathy to the species as a whole, and it's negatively impacted them a lot. So I kind of was thinking, I don't want to get a bad impression of sharks by watching Jaws, you know, even though like now
Sharks
I'm
are
older,
fucking monsters.
but I know
Water-based fucking killers that do not have your best interests at heart.
Yeah, and they literally referred to them as like killing machines, but I'm like, that's pretty negative to do that to a species. I know that wasn't their intention. They were just trying to make a good movie, and it was a good movie, and I'm glad that
Fucking
I've seen
Stingray
it
kills Steve Irwin. Shark adjacent.
But they are animals, and we just need to respect them and give them their space and not hunt them and not make shark fin soup and stop that from happening and just protect them. So with all of that said, Jaws is a really good movie and I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
There were great characters and dialogue. The editor also pretty much saved that movie, I heard, because the shark was the kind of animatronic or whatever they were using as the shark kept like sinking, and there were problems with that, so it was actually saved completely in the edit, and it totally worked. I am the kind of person, I couldn't help kind of laughing when that guy was killed and like bit through the stomach and blood started coming through his mouth. I was kind of like, it's kind of funny. You know.
It's what?
I think it was the effects more than.
It was horrifying.
anything else.
This
No,
fucking
I
shark
can understand how
sympathizer
it would be.
laughed as Quint got murdered.
It was kind of
The fisherman
though,
hate crime.
just purely from an effects standpoint. Not that I'm not shitting on Jaws. It is
Okay.
really good. And yeah, the frustration with the guy, the mayor, wasn't it the mayor? I've only seen it the once. I don't know character names. But when
he is so frustrating.
Yeah, I kind of wish it had been him that got bit through the stomach. That would be very satisfying. And terrible. I'm the positive one. And terrible. It would be terrible.
I'll catch your shark for you. Robert Shaw is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The tail. What's the name of the boat he was on? We only just watched it.
Yeah, I know, but I've been watching a lot of things to catch up with the podcast, so the name of the boat has escaped me at this moment.
Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
Indianapolis. That's when I was most afraid. I'll never put on a life jacket again. Like, that scene's amazing. I woke up and leaned over, saw my friend. He bobbed up and down. His legs were gone. Bit clean in half. It's
wasn't in the original script as well.
No. Robert Shaw just made it up.
No.
He improv'd all
what
of
was
that.
the guy? Trying to remember the guy's name. He's the guy who directed the first Conan film. What's his name? Blanking on his name.
Dino De Laurentiis?
No, he
Did
directed.
produce?
No, that was the producer. I'm blanking on his name.
It's something as silly, and I say as silly, and I mean John
Milius.
That guy's a nut job.
Yeah, nut job. But he wrote the "Do You Feel Lucky" punk. He wrote the Quint's thing in Jaws. He was a script doctor basically, and he'd come in and he'd punch up a couple of, he'd add scenes to stuff, but there is a list of like iconic stuff that he's added to the films.
I thank goodness he did that, because that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really,
well, it's just this
dialogue.
It's such a, I don't know, it's so funny how that film turns around and there's this just bonding moment of the three lads in the boat, and like, you do care about all these characters throughout it to a degree, but just that scene that night on the boat just makes you love them all, and suddenly you are deeply invested in what happens with them.
Yeah, right in time for the climax of actually trying to evade the shark.
Like, there's a thing with Duval's. It is Duval, isn't it? No, it's not Duval. Fucking who's
Dreyfus.
Dreyfus, thank you so much. The kind of disdain that Quint has for Dreyfus's character throughout it, and the slow begrudging respect, and the fact that, like, as Dreyfus learns about Quint's history, like, he recognizes the Indianapolis thing, like, is it a tattoo that kicks that off? And like, he knows, like, he's like, oh god, in awe of what Shaw went through, and Quint sees that respect, and they like the fact that they have such respect for Hooper is Dreyfus, isn't it? And it's Brody is the chief. Like,
Brody was,
they can't but respect Brody because he's fucking terrified, but he's out on the boat, you know.
Yeah, I like that arc of his character. The whole, he's super scared, but he does this after his son was put in danger. He's a very endearing character, and the ideal sort of protagonist for a movie. Like, you totally are backed 100%. You're backing him, and Hooper as the one who actually knows about Hooper. He's like the red flag guy who's like, hey, yo, there's still a shark out there, and it's like, no, and it's so frustrating. But the way they built that frustration in the audience as well as the characters was really well done, and you can just tell that this is not going to end well. People are going to die. Like, you're just an asshole for not letting them close the beach, you know.
It has one of the best amateur actors performances of all time when Hooper pulls the shark out of the water and goes, oh, it's a tiger shark, and they hired locals, and just this local guy just goes, a what? There are a number of those moments in it. So you now need to go watch Jaws 2 through 5.
Oh, okay.
You don't at all.
Wait, Jaws. Is it Jaws 4 is in 3D?
Oh, gee.
They missed a trick with that one.
Is it in, like, good 3D? Like, can you actually...
No. And
it's the one... Yeah.
It's Michael Caine, isn't it? Is he in 3?
I saw the shark.
Think so.
And I killed the shark.
The quote from Michael Caine is, "I never saw Jaws 3. I saw the house it built." The 3D stuff is so funny to look at. Is Kurt Russell in that movie?
Oh, that's worth watching.
To make an effective 3D image, you can't hide the shark at that point. So you just have a big blue ocean with this tiny little, like, floaty shark coming towards you. And gosh. It's terrible. So that's Classic Movies Corner with Cree.
Thank you. Oh, I also, speaking of Classic Movie Corner, just one more thing. I saw Love Story, which was very interesting. And it was, 1970 it came out?
I have not seen that. I know it's like a little cultural moment.
I would give
cinema,
it a watch.
But
I think it was Disney Plus or Netflix. Either it was one of them that it's on. But people should give it a watch if they're into like film and writing and things, because for back then especially, I haven't seen a lot of poignant relationships being portrayed from like the early 70s. You know, it's usually, you know, the woman is the woman, you know, of that time and stuff, but this one, she's actually, you know, got a personality, and they're more equal than usual, which was interesting, and it was very sad, and yeah.
I strongly disagree with the line in the film, the famous line, though.
Oh yeah, no, the famous line, it can go and try, but it was 1970.
Nonsense.
Like,
I mean, there's love means never having to say you're sorry.
To say you're sorry. Yeah. No, that's a load
Excuse
of
me,
bollocks.
what?
That is a load of bollocks. But, you know, for the time, it was actually relatively progressive, I think. But maybe not. I mean, I wasn't around in 1970. I don't know what was progressive and what wasn't, but that was good. Also, Mickey Bo and Me, I watched as well this week.
What the hell is that? You mentioned that earlier. I remember the name of that.
Yeah.
So is that about a dog or an alien or something? What is that about?
No. No, it's not Mac and Me, it's Mickey Bo and Me.
Okay.
You're thinking of Mac and Me.
Yeah, no, it's as far from that as you can get. It's about these two boys in Northern Ireland in around I'm going to say 1970, because Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid came out in 69, and the whole thing is these two boys from opposite sides of the city, you know, like Protestants and Catholics. These two boys.
I'm just trying to draw parallels with Mac and Me. One of them's an alien that they hide in a box and they're around McDonald's. The Protestant is kept in a cupboard.
There is no McDonald's product placement.
They're trying to have
here.
the Catholic parent not find the Protestant boy.
The Protestants in the cupboard with the toaster.
I haven't seen Mac and Me, I think for good reason as well, because E.T. exists, and why would I watch?
You're aware of Paul Rudd's running joke on Conan O'Brien, right?
What is the joke?
It happened once. I mean, like, it just became a bit, but like in Paul Rudd's first appearance on Conan O'Brien in the mid-90s, he went, and we've got a clip of your new movie. And he just goes, yeah, do you want to set it up? And he goes, no, I think the clip speaks for itself. And then they just cut the clip of the wheelchair with the kid and Mac and Me rolling down a hill and off a cliff.
Oh my gosh.
And then every Paul Rudd experience for the next 20 years, he says, you got a clip of your new movie? And they would just play the Mac and Me clip.
That's brilliant.
I mean, I don't know how much of it Conan was in on. I guess by the fifth time, he's like, I know what I'm going to see here.
I think by the second time, he's probably in it the first time. But
yeah.
It's the commitment to the bit now is funnier than...
Yeah.
It's admirable.
I mean, it's still funny,
yeah.
Is the thing. It's like, they both sit there smirking and...
So you're in this new Avengers movie. We have a clip. Yep. And it's just Mac and Me plays in the background. They don't even talk about it at that point. But amazing. Please, Mickey Bo and Me.
Yeah, Mickey Bo and Me is actually a good movie. So it's about these.
Take that, boys. Mac and Me. Shots fired.
I think that's an okay statement for me to say, though. I haven't seen the movie, but I know it's just not the best. But you know, maybe benefit of the doubt, I might watch it someday. But Mickey Bo and Me, is about these boys. It's around like that 1970 because they bond, and obviously, you know, people are very divided at this point and very wary of each other, and there's the whole, you know, crossing the bridge thing of like, oh, you're not allowed to cross the bridge over into their area, so there's tensions, you know, and these two boys find each other and they become fast friends because Mickey Bo is the kind of instigator of all their troublemaking, and the other fella's just kind of along for it. It's very endearing. Basically, the whole plot is they see they come together, they become friends, they go to see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and they basically want to create that themselves, and so they go and like make an adventure for themselves. And it's, yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but definitely in terms of like Irish, at least on the island, you know, Republic and North, cinema, people should check it out. The child actors in it are brilliant, especially Mickey Bowe. He hasn't really done anything since, but he was fantastic and very spirited and full of energy and hilarious. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're into good movies.
I mean, I guess it's, I got grain of salt on Wikipedia, but like budget $5 million, box office 172,000. It must have made money elsewhere, but like, oh god, it's hard. Well, when you say budget or box office 172,000, it's hard to think it scaled another 4.8 million.
That's probably total box office. It wouldn't just give local box office, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's on Netflix for anyone who's interested. I think it's well worth a watch.
God almighty, is there any money made in film by, you know, not huge conglomerates?
I know, it's disheartening. That's, yeah.
Fucking capitalism.
Curse you, Disney!
So, we were talking about this a little bit, that like everything we kind of watched this week, most of what we watched this week was Disney Plus based. So, you know, Why the Last Man is on there, Only Murders in the Building, and Star Wars Visions. Only Murders continues to be fun. I'm still enjoying that. I don't know if we want to dig into the episode.
Sure.
Did you watch it, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I meant to say it a couple of times and I never ended up saying it, but it was kind of obvious that who tie-dye person was going to be.
Yeah.
But not because, like, it's obvious because they made it obvious, you know?
Yeah. Once we established that she had a group of friends, he was going to fall into some of that, yeah.
Exactly. But is that them dead at the start of the series then? Or is it somebody else wearing the tie-dye?
Oh shit, I'd forgotten that the episode, the pilot opens with tie-dye guy. Or tie-dye hoodie dead. Interesting.
So is it actually him? Or is it someone just randomly wearing?
I think by the rules of filmmaking, that opening scene has to be a mislead, right?
It could be misleading. It could be being set up to be misleading, but it's not misleading, in case makes it misleading.
Yeah.
It's the bassoonist.
I think
well,
so.
that's it. That the face is hidden, so it could be somebody else wearing the tie-dye hoodie.
Yeah.
But that is also why we're getting a second season.
Ooh, didn't know that.
Because that's, yeah.
Is that going to be the final scene of this season? Is them over that body?
No, but there'll be something a little extra, but it's
because that falls into
a whole
like
lot more.
We kind of touched on it last week, but that falls into the thing I hate.
I know.
Yeah,
that's
I really don't like it. I really don't like it. We have an ongoing thing where I do not like opening a project with here's a shitty situation and then cut to previously, and we end up getting back to there.
The shitty situation.
Yeah, like Suicide Squad really annoyed me when it did it, and I was watching Suicide Squad, but it very quickly just went, and we're back to where we were on the island, let's keep moving forward. Like, it did it in 15 minutes rather than making the whole movie about getting back to that for the third act.
Yeah.
I liked the scene in the car with the other podcasters, the yard dogs, was it?
The horticultural hombres or something, isn't it? Or something, something
I think
like that.
the name of the podcast was Yard Dogs, I think, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and it's all, for all your horticultural...
Yeah. They were brilliant.
We had a meeting with Cindy Canning. Cindy sees our boy. She loves our greens.
I've watched the episode, I think, twice at least. The guy who comes in at the end, was he introduced? Guy? Yeah, like he just walks in and they're just talking to him. He says something to them, and I was just like, "Do we know this? Who's this person?" Like,
yeah, we knew they were going to meet him, but you don't see him.
It's like there's a scene missing or something. I found it very, very jarring.
Yeah, it is like there's a scene where Selena Gomez and tie-dye guy walk in and talk to him for a minute, and then he goes in back. But we didn't get that scene.
Is there?
Know?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
I think it feels like there should be that moment, because he then just walks out and just joins the conversation as if he'd been there.
Yeah, and the way it happens is almost exactly the way Martin Short's son walks in to tell them that Mabel knows Tim. It happens in almost the same way. The guy just kind of walks in from another room and goes, "Hey, here's a piece of exposition." And it's like, what? It's like that. I was like, that's not his son? Why did they just repeat the same exact beat at the end of an episode?
I love Martin Short walking around with that boom mic with the wind cover on it. Just going, could you say that again? Like, just
I love that when he says something like real poignant or something. He's like, no, I gotta do that again. He's like, motherfucker.
We'll loop it.
But we just discussed that we're talking on a podcast about a show about a podcast. That's pretty cool.
Which, even in the show, we know that Tina Fey starts a podcast about their podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's kind of meta. Very podcast
Quite
heavy.
meta.
The whole thing with Sting is...
Was that this episode as well, or was that last
kind
episode?
of mad. It was probably last episode, but I just... I haven't really been on talking about it. I just want to put out there the jokes that they keep making about being close to Sting that's pretty hilarious. Don't stand so close to Sting.
You don't stand so close to Sting. I have a feeling it won't be like knowing the talent pool that this group is pulling from in terms of like the SNL pedigree on it. It's like we could see Paul Simon in here at some point, because like Lauren and Paul Simon are just 40-year friends that do lunch every week. Like he's been popping up in SNL forever.
If Paul Simon's character was called Al, he's like, oh, you can call me Al.
Oh God, I think knowing the show at this point, he would just be Paul Simon lives in the building, you know?
Yeah. Probably, but that would be kind of funny.
The only living boy in New York.
I think that they are. I kind of want a little bit more information about like the whole Tim Kono thing. I hope that it rounds itself out and that it doesn't continue on to season 2 of like we're still figuring out how Tim Kono died. I hope that they've resolved the Tim Kono thing, and then maybe there's another murder or something else that they have to figure out. I'd say that's
it's that sort of thing where when a show is built on a mystery like that, trying to carry that energy into a second season is so hard to do it. I don't know that anything ever achieves it, you know?
So they'd need a new mystery, I think. Or some
Well,
weird
this thing
twist.
that they become the subject of Tina Fey's other podcast called Only Murderers in the Building.
Yeah.
So there is that murder we see at the start, and then she makes a podcast about them becoming the suspects in another murder. So I think they probably will resolve the Tim Kono thing, and then as they solve that, it's going to, you know...
You're pretty solidly
kind of
convinced, or
spiral
do you just know this for a fact, like season 2 is going to be based around Tina Fey's podcast?
Not that it's going to be based around the podcast, but the fact that she has a
instigation.
podcast and she says that they're the suspects they become the suspects in another murder, which is the murder we see whoever's wearing the tie-dye. That's what she's talking about. So we know that's where it's headed.
Yeah.
So that's the second one that we...
That's true. See, I forgot. But yeah, basically all I'm hoping for is that the Tim Kono thing is just resolved, because it's kind of... I'm still invested, but not for long, so you gotta pull something out of the bag.
I think it has something to do with her family, the girl's family.
Yeah.
Because they say her family owns like the 11th floor of the building.
Yeah.
Who, the girl
So
that died, or
that's-
Selena Gomez?
Yeah, the girl that died. And that's why Tim probably didn't talk, because the family is so powerful.
Right. Is it going to tie back to that woman who like runs the homeowners association?
No.
I kind of, in a weird... This is going to sound weird, but I kind of want the bassoonist to be the murderer. I think that would be pretty fun.
I think she's a weird character to set up to not be... Like, it's a really straight line to have her be a reveal later in the day. And it's like... There's part of me that's like... That's so... easy.
Well,
But part of me is like,
it
let's not do
connects.
that.
It connects to whatever jewelry smuggling ring that Tim is trying to take down. That's who killed him. But that possibly has something to do with the rich girl's family, I think.
Yeah.
Because she was the one who had them all, like, stealing jewelry and stuff anyway.
Right.
Oh.
And then
Yeah,
Tim
she
comes
got
out
the
and says,
keys, the caretaker's key, and was leading them into the apartments.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just realised since we're speculating about who actually was the murderer, we've turned effectively into a murder podcast ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing the only
It's a
murders in
fake
the
crime one,
building.
but it's not true crime, it's fake crime.
So this week, look for this episode of The Endless Stream in the true crime section. Or no, there's a fiction crime section, is there?
Sure. We just made up a dead guy and killed him.
Also on Disney Plus this week is Star Wars Visions, which
Yes.
is an anthology series with various Japanese studios putting out a 10 to 20 minute episode of their interpretation of a Star Wars universe story. I've watched about half of them. Have you all watched all of them, I'd imagine?
nope.
I've seen all of them.
Nope.
I was saving it so we could rank them with Kev, and Kev can tell us that he gave them all 3.9 stars out, or thumbs out of 5.
So have you seen any of them?
The first one. That's
Okay.
it.
I've
So
watched
I kind of
4
just
of them.
watched all of them for the podcast.
That's fine. No,
No, I'm glad I watched them. It was good.
Did you want to watch them? Did we force you to watch Star Wars Visions?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't forcing to. It's not something that I would have sought out myself. You know, just purely because I'm not an anime nerd. I
Yeah.
really am into it that much. Like apart from
Get out.
the likes of Kiki's Delivery Service, I've seen Mob Psycho 100 as well, and I really loved the first season of that. But I amn't versed in the ways of anime, nor am I particularly attracted to it, just personally.
Well, I'm halfway
So-
through Star Wars Visions, and I think we can agree that it makes perfect sense that if you're a badass woman in an anime world, you're definitely wearing heels.
I hate that. It's so annoying.
It's like three out of 4 I've watched. There's a badass woman in it, and they're all wearing stilettos.
Like, that's
Like,
so annoying. Like, she's using the force to keep it from breaking. Like, it's just something to worry about.
spoilers, Brian. A lightsaber comes out of a stiletto.
Like Bayonetta. Cool.
That's the one thing I dislike about the series. But, yeah, so it wasn't something that I was going to seek out. You know, I might have, clicked on it if I was bored or something.
Yeah.
But I'm actually glad, though, that I branched out and I watched it, because beforehand I was thinking anime and Star Wars. I wasn't sure if it was going to mix for me personally, but then, watching it, I realized, like, Star Wars is already quite similar to the kind of Japanese or East Asian culture. Not that I'm very versed on that, and I could be getting this wrong completely.
Yeah,
but
Lucas was a huge samurai movie fan, and that fed into
like Star Wars is a space western, people say, but the whole western thing was based on
Star Wars is based
is a
on the
space
Hidden
samurai
Fortress.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. But like it can tie into the
It's
Western thing
literally
as well.
based
but
on the Hidden
Westerns
Fortress.
themselves are based on that as well as, and then
Yeah.
it's also directly from it. So like samurai, Jedi,
Yeah.
like Ahsoka even had like a Shoto saber. Like they just, so it does tie in, and then with the spirituality and stuff as we see in episode 1, with the shrine, the Sith shrine and stuff. So it does tie in, and if you were going to do a kind of Star Wars or a kind of what if sort of thing for Star Wars, and you were going to have an anthology series, anime is actually the best sort of animation medium to use, I think.
How successful then? Like, this is an animated version of Star Wars doing alternate takes, right?
Yeah.
We're watching an animated version of Marvel doing alternate takes. What do you have a preference in terms of, like, we've seen 2 approaches now. Would you rather this were a what if type of Star Wars in a Clone Wars style?
Me.
Or do you think the variety here really adds?
No, I think the variety, I think the whole point of it, like if it was Clone Wars, I mean, we've seen that style of animation so much anyways, and we've come to associate that with, like, canon and the Skywalker saga and, branching off of that. So this whole Visions is like, the point of it is exploration. So I feel like anime is the perfect tool, because within the anthology series itself is like, there are so many different styles of that animation alone, and they're all so different, and they all have a place, and they're all sort of incorporating things. Like, some of them don't feel 100% Star Wars, but they're definitely sort of in Star Wars. But it's an exploration. So I think, had it been in the style of Clone Wars, I don't think it would have actually worked for an anthology.
I'm trying to, like, we slightly talked about doing like a ranked version of putting a lot of focus on the Visions episode and putting a list in order, ranking them, coming back and talking about each of them in the way that we did with Love, Death and Robots. So I'm going to keep you vague as well, because like, you've watched them all, you may as well bring you in on that, and like, if you want to sit through and talk through each of them in detail. If not, tell us to go away because we're nerds. But like,
sure, no.
there's 9 of them. Like, how many of them do you feel were successful? How many of them do you think were a bit wobbly for you?
So some of them I didn't connect to as much as others. I'll just get them up now so that I can refer back to
like
them.
I've watched 4 of them, and I've liked 2 of them, and I've kind of significantly disliked 2 of them. You know, I just like, ugh.
It can be a bit of a hit and miss for me. So personally, like, I can totally see how the first episode is great. I just personally didn't really connect to it. I thought the umbrella lightsaber was pretty visually cool, and the way the kind of protagonist stopped the lightsaber with the Force, that was very cool.
This sort of thing started to happen, and I'm like, is it the Force Awakens where Kylo Ren stops the laser
they
bolt
did that a
firing
lot
towards
in this
him?
year. Like, there are a good 3 at least that I can kind of think of where blasters
once we established that the Force
and
could stop a blaster shot,
yeah,
people are just having great fun with that. You know, someone had a good idea, and now it's like, let's do it again.
Yeah, so it does kind of get a bit repetitive in that sense, because it does do that multiple times in the series, and it's kind of not as show-stopping and jaw-dropping as it's sort of supposed to be, because I'm like, we've seen that before, but it's still good.
Show stopped, jaw dropped. 5 stars.
So the duel, I personally didn't really connect to it, but I can see how other people absolutely would love it.
Let's not go through each of them. Let's save that for the Visions special. But like, have a look at them there yourself, and then go like, I liked 5 of them, I liked 4 of them, or
okay,
you know.
So the ones that stood out, 1, I would say most of them actually. Now that I'm looking at it, the first one is the only one that didn't completely gel. I actually thought that they all brought something unique and cool to it. Do you know? I mean, most of this is sort of newish for me, because I'm not like that really watching anime a lot. I know it is very anime though. Like, I kind of know the tropes and things, but they're really good explorations of character and things. So,
did you watch Love, Death and Robots?
I didn't. My friend is like, you should go watch Love, Death and Robots. I'm like, yes, and then I completely forget.
Yeah, look, there's so many things to watch, especially when we start talking here. We just start listing things that could be looked at. But like, I think the second season of that had 8 episodes? Can you remember that, Ryan?
I think so.
Like, the first season had like 20, which was kind of unmanageable for like to sit down and watch a chunk of. But like season 2, they were more selective, and they really found a good balance. Some of them I really didn't like, some of them I loved. You know, if you find yourself looking for something to kill 10 minutes a day during the week here, like, check out some of that stuff, because it is, you know, it's hit and miss, but like, I like the idea that there are big swings in there, you know.
It's like a little nugget.
I think there was less bad ones in that season.
Yeah. And bad subjective, like, you know, we dislike it, but like,
I think the only one I really didn't like was the customer service one, which won a fucking Emmy.
Which was the customer service one? Oh, it's the remote control thing and the dog.
Yeah.
The very first one of the bunch.
The first, yeah.
Yeah. We'd have to go.
It won an Emmy for character design.
fuck off. It is the ugliest one.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you have it.
Ugh. What
I think the Christmas one. I think the Christmas one might have won something.
There's a Christmas one.
Because
I'll
that's
watch that.
There's a Christmas
It's a
one.
Christmas and a Halloween one.
Yeah. And it's
amazing.
like 2 minutes long. You could actually just go and
it's
watch
superb.
it. It's perfect. It's just a nice little slice of oddness, and you're like, well, that's an odd movie, and then you move on. You know, I think that did I say that was my favorite at the end of the last one? It was definitely.
I think you and Kev picked it as your faves. Yeah.
That and the giant, the washes ashore. Cool. That's Star Wars Visions. We are kind of bashing through the list of things here. Is there anything you guys specifically want to talk about as we head into 2 hours? Cree, you've got Doctor Who news. What's the Doctor Who's?
The Doctor Who's is the Doctor Who news is that Russell T Davies is making a comeback to Doctor Who. He is going to do a special, and he's going to show run a season, which is brilliant news if, like me, you've kind of disconnected from Doctor Who a little bit since, you know, the golden age of Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat. So I'm really looking forward to him making a good comeback, because just personally, like, say Jodie Whittaker, for example, I think she would have been one of my favourite Doctors, up there with Smith and Tennant, but I just feel like her writing was a little bit lackluster and it just wasn't as engaging as the other stuff. So I am super stoked that Russell T Davies is making a comeback. It's probably not with Jodie Whittaker, probably be with like the new Doctor. I don't know what the story is because I'm like not up to date on Doctor Who stuff, but I'm just super stoked that he's back. I'll probably start watching Doctor Who again, which is great.
My thoughts on Doctor Who are these. Here come my thoughts on Doctor Who. I definitely jumped on in the Russell T Davies era with, you know, Eccleston and Billy Piper, and those were fine and fun, and I enjoyed them, and David Tennant stuff was great. And then they bumped the budget up huge for season 5 as Matt Smith came in. They got the orchestra to do all the music. It was a big thing. Stephen Moffat's season. It escalated and created an arcing story that put the whole universe at risk, and it was great. And I wanted to carry that buzz through seasons 6, 7, 8, but Moffat was never able to. How you can't get bigger than the universe ending, you know.
It's true.
And he kept trying.
Yeah.
He kept trying huge, where he needed to come back to small, in my mind anyway.
Yeah.
And I slowly disconnected from that, because it was like, you know, this person kills the Doctor and let's go kill Hitler and time traveling, the silence will fall, and it never paid off in any way that I felt was really significant. But then as Jodie Whittaker was coming in, I'm like, cool, like we have a change up a showrunner, we have a change up a Doctor, this should be great. And there's an interview somebody put together of the writer going, the performance of the Doctor is entirely informed by Jodie Whittaker's interpretation of the performance. You know, what I write is based on how I see Jodie playing the Doctor. And then Jodie Whittaker is in another interview going, I just try and perform what's on the page. Yeah. And like my interpretation is coming from what he's writing. So nobody's clearly leading this.
Yeah.
And she just kind of got completely underserved because your man just didn't. I mean, I'm assuming his mindset or his comprehensive understanding of it, but it just didn't feel like he had a direction for it. Couple that with the idea that like the last two seasons, the first season with her just felt like, it felt very like the Magic School Bus, where she would bop them all in the TARDIS and bring them to a historical event, give them a history lesson about tolerance, and then the episode would end. And
she had too many companions.
I liked. Yeah, they just got a bit too lectury as episodes.
Yeah.
And the last season with her tried to course correct that by having a sort of bigger arc. But that bigger arc, I don't know, did you watch that last season with her?
I didn't. I didn't even finish the first, to be honest.
Do you want the giant spoiler from the end of the episode?
What, like the
or the end of the
timeless
season?
child? thing.
The Timeless Child thing. Did you get all that?
No,
Did you get it?
it's been spoiled because I'm not gonna like sit down and watch.
So, for Brian, they're trying to figure out where this child that was born or arrived at the beginning of time was, and like you find out that it was the Doctor, and the Doctor existed in a place outside of time, and hasn't had 13 lives, but has had hundreds of thousands of lives, played by many, many different people. And it's like it just. In trying to, we've talked about this in terms of comic books, where some writer thinks they've got a smart idea, but all they're really doing is undercutting the entire concept of, or undercutting the firmness of that foundation with rocky novelty thinking. We saw this, Brian was showing me a clip or a page from Thor, or a Marvel comic with Thor, where he's relaying to Iron Man or Captain America. Do you want to tell this?
Was it Kev?
Do you remember this? Oh, maybe it was Kevin, was it?
I think it was Kev though, yeah. But yeah, basically Thor is talking about, or somebody is talking about Thor's memories and stuff, and the fact that because he's been alive for thousands of years, that he experiences things like seconds. So he doesn't have this great memory. So like these biggest moments he's had with people are like these fleeting things to him, and essentially just that he doesn't have a great memory effectively because the reason he's always so happy to see people is because basically kind of saying as well that he's got like no object permanence as well in a sense. And it was just stupid. And it was just so they could write this cloying sentimental thing
Every
about...
time I come back to Earth, I'm surprised that Captain America is still alive, and I'm happy to see him because I lose track of the sense of time between moments and centuries.
Yeah, and it's just stupid.
It was silly, and I've seen it just goes
if anything, you'd have a greater sense of time because you've been around so long, you know. It's just stupid. Like he's an adult god with a fully developed brain, and they're talking about him like he's a baby with an undeveloped, you know. It's stupid. All so they could just have this sentimental moment where he's like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you people because I've got a bad memory because I'm alive so long." It's like, what?
There's a concept in the movie Doctor Sleep where a person's memory is represented as, you know, like a filing cabinet or a memory palace thing, and you see the representation of this other character. This other character has been alive for an extended period of time, and her memory palace is a fucking cathedral. You know, it's expansive and complete, as opposed to I've been around forever, so I have all of these memories, as opposed to I've been around forever, so I just stop remembering things.
Yeah,
bullshit. So that's what
that was directed by Mike Flanagan, I believe.
Was it?
I think so.
That's what the current director or the current showrunner on Doctor Who has kind of done. He's just kind of undermined it, to my mind. Now, do you think Davies can course correct?
If anyone can, it will probably be him, I'm thinking. Do you know? They're definitely... I feel like they must have heard the discontent amongst the fans to take such a drastic, okay, right, we need to not put a new person in here, but bring back someone that we know that the fans love. So they definitely are trying to course correct. I don't know if that is a possibility.
Yeah.
But hopefully.
What has Davies done since Doctor Who?
Didn't he do whatchamacallit for Channel 4? It's a Sin, yeah. So that would have been the biggest thing since Doctor Who that I can see.
I don't know that.
It's a Sin.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's on All 4 as well, I think, for people who need to catch up. But yeah, it's based around, you know, it's in England during the AIDS crisis, and, you know, people navigating their identity and what with the backdrop of AIDS and the kind of fear and the misinformation and people around them, you know, losing friends, that kind of thing. It's a brilliant show. If anyone hasn't seen It's a Sin, you should go watch it. I don't want to give anything away, obviously, but yeah, and so he did that. So he's great. He's so good. He's brilliant. He's a great man.
It is.
He's
Here's hoping he can do it. It's just like, is Chris Chibnall going to see Jodie Whittaker out?
I don't know. To be honest, I would like to see what Russell, because he's got a special. He's doing a special, Russell. So the special might be with Jodie, and if that's the case, that could be really good.
I just remembered the last shot of like a post-credit sting of the last Doctor Who season was like the credits end, and there's like a dramatic slow rise shot of like who the next companion's going to be, and it turns around and it's John Bishop.
Yeah.
And it's like introducing John Bishop, and I'm like, the comedian John Bishop? We've made a big deal out of this as our sci-fi casting? Okay.
It is a very British.
I don't grudge John Bishop the work, but it's an odd tone you've struck.
Hey, listen, I think he'd be really good.
I mean, he probably will, but now I'm thinking I have a John Bishop season of Doctor Who to get through before we get Russell T Davies back.
Yeah. I hope it will be good, but I'm not setting my expectations really high because I don't want to be disappointed again, but I do.
Why can't I just recapture the joy and optimism I felt in 2005?
I wonder. If only.
When I was just finishing college and a really promising career, everything was all in front of me.
Everything was awesome.
Now it seems like all this possibility has drifted away, and all that's left is
It's all in front of you like a wheelbarrow still.
a load to carry.
I started watching the Midnight Mass yesterday. It just came out yesterday. I'm only 2 or 3 episodes in, but I quite like it. I like where it's heading. It's appropriately spooky.
What's the setup of Midnight Mass?
So it's Mike Flanagan's latest thing on Netflix. Like I said, his kind of horror tends to be more ghost story type stuff, which I like. And it's not so much a slow burn as it is. It's old school horror. It's not really kind of focused on gore or jump scares, but that's not to say that it doesn't do either. But it very much kind of, it understands that like horror comes from like setting the scene, taking the time to set the scene, and then flipping it in some way so that you know you're turning a situation on its head. And the more of the scene you set and the kind of more natural things feel, then the more horrifying or terror-inducing it becomes when you kind of turn that on its head. So the setup for this, it's set on an island somewhere off the coast in the US called Crockett Island. I think its current population is only like 127 people or something like that. So there's been a mass exodus of people that live on the island. And it starts with Zach Gilford's character, who you might know from Friday Night Lights. He played Matt Saracen. He has killed someone drunk driving, and his family is very religious, and he's pleaded guilty, so he's going to jail because he was drunk and he killed a young girl. And the series then starts with him. He's just been released from prison on parole, and like I said, the religion in it, his family and on the island is very, very, it's very influential. It's got a huge hold over the people there, but he's lost his faith because I guess his main question is how the God he believes in let him do something as terrible as he did and kill this young girl. So he's kind of lost his faith. So he's back on this island. He's kind of catching up with family and old relationships and stuff. At the same time, a young priest has replaced the older priest on the island, and he's very kind of charismatic and charming, and he can also apparently work miracles. Ooh. And then things start to go bad. So it's good. I quite like it. I like where it's heading.
And how far into it are you?
I'm only on, I think, the third episode.
Did they
I would
post
check it
the
out
whole
ev-
season or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
I would check it out even if horror is not usually your thing, because it's not the kind of shocking. It's not about shocking. It really is just about like an old fashioned kind of ghost story, and it reminds me quite a bit of Jaws. Like the first episode is just setting the scene with like this guy's the sheriff, this is the local drunk, this is the island zealot. It's just introducing you to all these characters. It just sets the scene for what's about to happen, and I just like the vibe that it's kind of set already. Where Flanagan's worked with a lot of the same actors, so there's a lot of the people that you'd know from if you'd watched the previous two series are returning in this, and they're like really good cast. And yeah, the first episode is just kind of setting the scene, establishing who's who on this island and what their relationships are to each other and stuff. And it's just a great setting, this island with like 120 odd people. You start to learn like why people have left, and it's good.
Islands are always scary, in
yeah,
horror
great
context.
setting for horror. Yeah.
Where are you
Or for
watching
chess
that?
tournaments with serial killers.
So it's on Netflix.
Oh, cool.
Call back to Night Moves. Night Moves. Anybody watch Night Moves? Just me.
I believe I've watched Night Moves. Yes.
Well, then that brings us to, I guess, a conversation I want to have where I want to do. I talked to Brian about this already. I want to do like a special recording, like a standalone episode off somewhere, whether we pick a Thursday night or something else to do this, where we just talk about the Star Wars Visions stuff in, say, the way that we did Love, Death and Robots. That episode went long when we did that episode. I think it went to 3 hours or something. It's the longest episode we have. Just because we each took our turn saying what our number 10 was and why we liked it and why we didn't, and we just ranked them all out and compared and see where we fell. I'm not saying that that's what will happen with Visions, but I'd like to do a standalone with that. If I know Brian's
Ranking
up for it, I
is
think
stressful.
Kev is as well. Yeah, but it's a good bit of fun. The other thing that we have now, though, is the next, like, this episode's going to drop on the 27th, but the following episode is going to be our first October episode. We have 5 weeks of spooky season. So what should we watch between here and there as our first spooky season Halloween horror movie? I've heard Hereditary. Did you just say Hereditary?
I did.
Shit. Cree, have you seen Hereditary?
No, I probably wouldn't be super into participating.
You're too
in
young
horror
for that.
movie thing. No, not young. I'm 20. It's just
I'm just playing. I'm too young for Hereditary. That's why I haven't watched it. Have you seen Hereditary, or Brian?
Yes, I love it.
You love it.
I want you to see it.
I don't
Aiden
think
to see
Kev
it.
has seen it. I think that's a decent one to like make the focus of next week's. That's a next week's episode will be Hereditary. We got to significantly talk about it. Performances, cinematography. We're making it week 1 of spooky season, Hereditary. For all those listeners out there wondering what we're watching next week, if you want to get on board and start forming opinions now or sending us thoughts and comments, we're going to be watching Hereditary, which is Toni Collette and some weird looking kid and
Toni
me being
Collette,
scared.
Gabriel Byrne.
Was I not supposed to say the kid's weird looking? The kid's weird looking. It's a plot point, right?
She's a grown woman.
Toni Collette or the kid?
The kid.
The kid's a grown woman. Now or when the movie was made?
Well,
I don't know anything about
she
this
is
film.
now.
I just saw a weird head and was like, is that a kid? Oh, God.
I can't wait for you to watch it.
Week 1 of spooky season will be Hereditary. We will determine weeks 2 through 5 because there are 5 episodes in this month of October. I heard somebody say Drag Me to Hell. I heard somebody say Let the Right One In. I did put a post up on the Instagram looking for suggestions. There were some good suggestions there. I'll try and post this is our 5 weeks of spooky season thing, and we'll talk about it in the chat. Is that all right with everybody?
Sounds good.
I mean,
Cree
I
does
don't...
not want to partake of spooky season.
No, I'm just like I'm a guest person, so I'm not at liberty to add my
vote or veto. Have you a Halloween movie that you?
My go-tos are like Beetlejuice, The Lost Boys, probably like Halloween episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that kind of thing.
Great episodes.
Or Hocus Pocus.
I do like the idea of Cree coming back in a week, having watched Hereditary, just going, "Fuck you guys! I hate you! I hate this! This was too scary! Here's a bunch of pricks."
I think I've told you my favorite thing about Hereditary before, so maybe I'll save it for the next time, or I could just mention it now and then also. I think I've told you before because.
Does it feel spoilery? That's a teaser, guys. See you all next week.